أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ثم الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه الأخيار. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We continue with our readings on التحفة السنية بشرح المقدمة الآجرومية. The last lesson we took was on نيابة الفتحة عن الكسرة, and that was basically about الأسماء الممنوعة من الصرف. الأسماء الممنوعة من الصرف. And there was a particular latifa, a particular faida I spoke about in that lesson, and then I later took it out because that was towards the ending of the lesson and I was hastening it, but supposed to be clarified very well. So we would hit on that particular faida. Then we go to our topic for today, which is علامتا الجزم. Then we end all these alamat matters. The faida I was speaking about was on why the word ashiya comes in the Quran mamnu'atun min as-sarf. And I think the verse that I even mentioned there was not the specific verse for that particular example. So the ashiya is the plural for the word shay'un. We read in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tas'alu an ashiya'a, la tas'alu an. We are expecting is majrur after the end. We are expecting the noun that will come at the end to be after that to be majrur. Then we see ashiya'a. It comes as mamnu min as-sarf because we know it is mamnu min as-sarf that when it is supposed to take kasra, fatha replaces it. So when it happened like that, the scholars started looking at it. Then what is making ashiya mamnu min as-sarf? Because the word is shay'un. The word is shay'un. So if I have ashiya, what comes to my mind is that there is a hamza added in front and an alif after the yai. So the hamza I have at the end is not that representing the alif al-ta'nis al-mamduda, which we mentioned here as being part of the reasons for mamnu min as-sarf. So if you look at it, then it's like ashiya, hamza has been added in front and then an alif put here, and my original hamza of shay'un is at the end. That wouldn't make it mamnu min as-sarf. Then there is something happening to the meter of the verb. So the scholars, all of them, they got into researching and everybody came up with their ideas, and that is what was put into that beautiful bait. And if I remember today, inshallah, may Allah make me not forget. The other time I remember I didn't post it on the video. I'm going to put it on the side of the video so that you can see the abiyat. The abiyat goes this way. Let me just read it quickly and then explain. He says, وَفِي وَزْنِ أَشْيَاء بَيْنَ الْقَوْمِ أَقْوَالُ قال الكسائي إن الوزن أفعال وقال يحيى بحذف اللام فهي إذن أفعاء وزنا وفي القولين إشكال وسيبويه يكون القلب صيرها لفعاء فافهم فذا تحصيل ما قالوا. So this is what happened. Kasai gave his view, and Kasai is from the school of Kufa, the madrasa, the view of thought of Kufa, people of Kufa. And Yahya al-Farra also comes in and gives his view of what he thinks the meter is. And then Sibawai comes to put the ceiling. And I think from the look of the way the bait is made, it is made like Sibawai's view is finally what we go with. So he says, وَفِي وَزْنِ أَشْيَاء بَيْنَ الْقَوْمِ أَقْوَالُ. In the meter of the word ashya, the qawm, that is bain al-ulama, among the scholars, there are a number of sayings. قال الكسائي, Kasai says that the meter is إن الوزن أفعال. He says it is af'al, like ashya, as I said, shay'un, and then I made it af'al. So it means that I added hamza in front and an alif. But what happens to Kasai's view? If you take this Kasai's view, then the word is not mamnu min as-sarf because of the alif al-ta'nis al-mamduda. You must find a reason. So he goes to the extent of explaining that it looks like it and all that. It looks like the alif al-ta'nis al-mamduda, and because it looks like it, man shabaha biqawmin fahuwa minhu, man tashabaha biqawmin fahuwa minhu. deriving from there. We are not in the surf, so we wouldn't extend that bayan. And then Yahya al-Farra, who is also the Imam of the people of Basra, he comes in. Both school of thought, interestingly, are also from Baghdad. They are all from Baghdad. So he comes in and he says that no, there is hazf al-lam, yani there is hazf lam al-kalima or lam al-ism. And so for here, then the meter is af'a'u. There is no lam al-fi'l. Af'a'u. So the lam al-fi'l, which is the original hamza in the verb, has been taken off. And so the alif and hamza we are seeing in ashya'u, they are additional. They've been added. And so they are potent to cause the word to be mamnu min as-sarf. So with his meter as well, it is understandable. So if you look at it, for him, he feels like the word is originally from, what did they do? They made the plural, shay'un became ash-i, ash-yi, a-u, ash-yi, a-u, ash-yi, a-u. In Arabiya, it is disliked for Hamza and Hamza to be separated by Alif, like A-O, Hamza, Alif, Hamza. It is not something that is liked in Arabiya. And so the Hamza, first Hamza, was slashed. And then we got Ashya'u. If it is slashed and there is Alif left and Hamza, of course the Yai, we give it the haraka of the previous Hamza, then we get Ashya'u. So the lam al-fi'l was taken off. So that is what brought us to the meter he gave and said af'a'u, no lam al-fi'l. Says وَفِي الْقَوْلَيْنِ إِشْكَالُ. And the one that was writing this bait, he says that in these two statements there are some ishkal, because with the first one, if it is af'alun, then it is originally not mamnu min as-sarf. If we take Farras own as well, and then we say the lam al-fi'l is mahzuf because of that, he said it doesn't sit very well with us. And then what happens? He says, وَسِيبَوَيْهِ يَقُول, and Sibawayh, who is the grandfather of all this Nahu, يَقُول, he says, Al-qalbu sayyaraha. From our sarf lessons, you know what qalb is. Qalb is when you turn something. It says, Al-qalbu sayyaraha. It is qalb that has turned it like that. It has turned the verb in a manner. And so what happens? Sayyaraha laf'a'u. Qalb has turned it into laf'a'u. Now write laf'a'u. What are you seeing? The lamul fail has been brought forward. La, a, lam comes in, and the fa and the ainul fail. So it means that lamul fail, which is the original hamza, has been brought in front. So when you see ashya'u, what are you looking at? You are looking at laf'a'u. And so the hamza in front is the original hamza that was at the end. But because the two hamzat were going to meet, the original hamza was moved in front so that the alif and hamza, which is the alif al-ta'anis al-mamduda, they will get their place, and then you get ashya'u. So he says that wal-qalbu sayyaraha. Al-qalbu sayyaraha laf'a'u. And then there's the one writing, he says fafham faza tahsilu ma qalu. This is the generality of the understanding of whatever they said. This is made lengthy, but with this bait, everything is made very short for us. It says وفي وزن أشياء بين القوم أقوال قال الكسائي إن الوزن أفعال وقال يحيى بحذف اللام فهي إذن أفعاء وزنا وفي القولين إشكال وسيبويه يقول القلب صيرها لفعاء فافهم فذا تحصيل ما قالوا. جميل. So that is the understanding here. We come to our main topic of today, which is the Alamata al-Jazm. This is nothing difficult, and so we are going to run through it, inshallah. He says that وَلِلْجَزْمِ عَلَامَتَانِ السُّكُونِ وَالْحَذْفِ. When we come to a word being majzoom, basically a verb being majzoom, because nouns don't become majzoom. When we come to the verb being majzoom, the alama is two. Either we see a sukun at the end of the verb, or we see hazf. So he just says hazf. He doesn't say hazf something. So you can have hazf harf al-illa, you can have hazf al-noon, you can have hazf of whatever is supposed to be. So he doesn't limit it. He says alamatani as-sukun wal-hazf. Says نحكم على كلمة بأنها مجزومة إذا رأينا فيها إحدى علامتين وهما. We judge that a word is majzoom if we see one of these two signs. The first one is as-sukun وهو العلامة الأصلية للجزم. Sukun is the basic sign for jazm. Says والحذف الحذف وهو العلامة الفرعية للجزم. And the hazf, whether it is hazf al-noon or hazf harf al-illa, that is the secondary sign of the verb being majzoom. And then he says وَلِكُلٍّ مِّنْ هَاتَيْنِ الْعَلَامَتَيْنِ مَوَاضِعْ. Each of these signs, they have where they appear. Jamil says موضع السكون, where sukun becomes the alamatul jazm for the verb or for the word. Says فأما السكون فيكون علامة للجزم في الفعل المضارع الصحيح الآخر. Sukun is the alamatul jazm for فعل مضارع that has a strong ending, that has a consonant ending. The ending is not one of the weak letters, alif, waw, yai. If the فعل مضارع is صحيح الآخر, the ending is not alif or waw or yai, then when it is majzoom, you have sukun at the end. But there is a caveat. There is something that is attached to this, which I'm sure he would mention. And that should be said that if nothing is attached to the ending of the verb, يعني إذا لم يتصل بواو الجماعة أو الألف الاثنين أو ياء المؤنثة المخاطبة. says للسكون موضع واحد يكون فيه علامة على جزم الكلمة، وهذا الموضع هو الفعل المضارع الصحيح الآخر. ومعنى كونه صحيح الآخر أنه ليس منتهيا بحرف من حروف العلة الثلاثة. When we say the فعل المضارع must be صحيح الآخر, it means that it shouldn't end with one of the three weak letters, which are الواو, الألف, والياء. And then he says ومثال الفعل المضارع الصحيح الآخر. Examples of such verbs that are having consonant endings: يسمع, يضرب, يلعب, يقرأ. فإذا سبق المضارع حرف جازم جزم. If a فعل مضارع is preceded by a حرف جزم like لم or the أدوات الشرط الجازمة. says وكانت علامة جزمه السكون, and the علامة الجزم is السكون. نحو example لم يسمع, لم يسمع. سعيد, صوت المنادي. Sa'id didn't hear the voice of the caller. Just بزغت الشمس, the sun has appeared. ولما أخرج من البيت. لما is also part of the أدوات الجزم, which means yet to. The sun has appeared or the sun has risen. ولما أخرج من البيت, and I'm yet to leave the house. It says لتقرأ كتابك. لام الأمر, commanding you. لتقرأ كتابك, read your book. لا تضع وقتك باللهو, don't waste your time with playing. لا here is also لا الناهية. It's لا الناهية, it's also jazm. So you see our verbs ending with sukun clearly here. It says فكل من الأفعال يسمع وأخرج ويقرأ تقرأ تضع تضع فعل مضارع مجزوم لأنه مسبوق بحرف جزم. All these verbs, they are majzoom because they are preceded by a harf jazm. says وعلامة جزمه السكون الظاهر على آخره لأنه فعل مضارع صحيح الآخر. And the sign of the jazm here is the sukun that is apparent at the end because the verb is فعل مضارع that has a strong consonant ending. And then he says مواضع الحذف, where we talk about حذف, whether it is حذف حرف العلة or whatever it is, we will see it here. It says وأما الحذف فيكون علامة للجزم في الفعل المضارع المعتل الآخر. As for the حذف, we see it in فعل مضارع that has a weak ending. And what is this weak ending? Alif, waw, or yai. says وفي الأفعال الخمسة التي رفعها بثبوت النون. And also we see حذف in أفعال الخمسة. أفعال الخمسة, you know them already by now. any فعل مضارع أو any فعل اتصل بواو الجماعة أو ألف الاثنين أو ياء المخاطبة المؤنثة. These are the الأفعال الخمسة, like تذهبون يذهبون, تذهبان يذهبان, تذهبين. 5 verbs. These 5 verbs, these أفعال الخمسة, when they are مرفوع, we've already said that the علامة الرفع is ثبوت النون. like الرجال يذهبون إلى المدرسة. يذهبون فعل مضارع مرفوع وعلامة رفعه ثبوت النون لأنه من الأفعال الخمسة. جميل. says الحذف يكون علامة ودلالة على وجود الجزم في موضعين. حذف is a sign of جزم in 2 places. الفعل المضارع المعتل الآخر. First one is فعل مضارع when it has a weak ending. أي الذي آخره حرف إلا. بمعنى when we say فعل مضارع المعتل الآخر, the one that has a حرف الإلا at the end. فيجزم بحذف حرف الإلا. When it is مجزوم, we take out the حرف الإلا. says وأحرف الإلا. says and this حروف الإلا, what are they? الألف والواو والياء. Then he gives us أمثلة, examples. يسعى, يبقى. In the مجزوم, what do you have? لم يسعى, you take out the alif at the end. لم يبقى, you take out the alif at the end. يدعو, يكسو, لم يدعو, لم يقسو. يمشي, يحيي, you say لم يمشي, لم يحيي. You take out the حرف الإلا. If it is alif at the end, you take it out. If it is واو, you take it out. If it is يا, you take it out. So if you have a فعل مضارع that is معتل الآخر, when it is مجزوم, the علامة الجزم will be حذف حرف الإلا. You say مجزوم وعلامة جزمه حذف حرف الإلا. says also الأفعال الخمسة التي ترفع بثبوت النون. أفعال الخمسة that is made مرفوع by the existence of the noon at the end. And he says here يضربان تضربان. He used ضرب as an example. يضربان تضربان, يضربون تضربون, and تضربين. So basically when you conjugate a verb to هما أنتما, هم أنتم, and أنتِ. If you conjugate a verb to these 5 pronouns, you get the الأفعال الخمسة. He says وهذه الأفعال تجزم بحذف النون. These أفعال, if you look at them, all of them, they end with noon. And so when they are majzoom, you just take out the noon. And then he says, أمثلة, examples of that. لم يضربا, لم تضربا, لم يضربوا, لم تضربوا, لتضربي. So you realize that the noon, all of them has gone. Instead of يضرباني, you say لم يضربا. You take out the noon. This is how the jazm of verbs that are part of the أفعال الخمسة, this is their علامة الجزم. And when they are part of the أفعال المعتل الآخر, also you take out the حرف الإلا. If they are not part of this, then the علامة الجزم is sukun at the end. جميل. Says خلاصة الباب, summary of the whole chapter. علامات الإعراب تنقسم قسمين. Signs of إعراب are in two categories. علامات أصول وعلامات فروع. Basic primary signs and secondary signs. علامات الأصول وهي 4. The علامات أصلية, they are 4. You have the ضمة, فتحة, كسرة, and سكون. These are the علامة أصلية. For رفع, نصب, جر, and جزم respectively. So وعلامات الفروع and the علامات secondary signs, they are وهي 10, they are 10. 3 تنوب عن الضمة وهي الواو والألف والنون. 3 replaces ضمة, where you have واو, ألف, and نون, they are علامات فرعية for ضمة. 4 تنوب عن الفتحة, and when it is منصوب, the fatha has 4 deputies. which are alif, kesra, yai, and hazfin nun when they are mansub. Wasnatani tanubani anil kesra, and two signs that replaces kesra, wahuma al-ya'u wal-fatha, which we just did recently. وواحدة تنوب عن السكون وهي الحذف, and one sign that replaces sukun is the hazf, whether it is hazf nun or hazf harf al-illa. This brings us to the end of the علامات الرفع, علامات النصب, علامات الجر, and then the علامات الجزم. Inshallah, our next episode will be looking at the a fresh topic, which is the al-mu'rabat. Al-mu'rabat. You now come and see the particular nouns that are mu'rab, inshallah. So we'll get to that lesson. Have a very good Arabic time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.